Everybody, happy Friday. Hopefully you guys can hear me okay. I am coming to you from a new part of my studio. So I have actually moved to a new place. I'm going to be doing an announcement about that later, but I'm coming to you from one of the shooting spaces, and I can't wait to give you guys more details about that. But today I wanted to recap the 5 tips for shooting gorgeous wedding day details. And actually there's one tip that I haven't gone over yet. So I'm really excited to go through each of the tips with you guys today, how to pull it all together on a wedding day. 5 tips can seem kind of overwhelming when you're thinking about going into a wedding day and having to remember everything, but it's actually a really natural flow. So I wanted to go through all those with you guys today. Feel free to ask any questions if you have any while I'm going through this. And then I'll be posting the blog post, all the tips and the photographs that go with that. And also in my groups so you guys can see and follow along. And also if you haven't had a chance to download the guide that goes along with these videos, and I'll post a link to that at the end of the video. So I wanted to go through the tips in order for you. First tip is when you're approaching a wedding day, it's great to find a window. Typically, we're photographing getting ready in someone's house or in a hotel room, and I always look for a window that is unoccupied. Find that window, you want to shoot perpendicular, to the window, so you have that beautiful pattern of light and shadow as you're photographing. And I did outline that in the last video. That you want to do, that's going to be your first setup. If you walk into the room and there's a couple things you can do. You can find another space to photograph in, which I had on wedding day. I've gone throughout the house and tried to find another spot, or if I'm in a hotel, I have certainly gone out to lobbies and found a space out there. Don't be afraid to move things from the room. Of course, you have to be responsible for them, but don't be afraid to move away from where everyone is getting ready. And then the second thing that I do is I always bring with me a foam board for photographing details on. So you can do a foam board, or you can even do a style board, which are really popular now that you can purchase online. Go to Walmart and I pick up a white foam board. I think they're maybe $3. They're pretty big and they are fantastic things flat when you are photographing. There have certainly been times that I've walked into a space to photograph and there are surfaces available. There's maybe a chair or a couch, but it's not completely flat, and it makes it really hard to photograph details that you need to either keep stable or that need to have a flat appearance, like an invitation suite. So purchasing that foam board is going to be a really great investment. I would actually purchase one. I typically keep a couple with me on wedding days, a couple for myself, one for my second shooter, just so we have those on hand if there aren't any flat surfaces to photograph. So the next thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to grab a bridesmaid's dress to have those details on that foam board. So a lot of times, well, especially today, the trend is the lighter colors with bridesmaids dresses. If it happens to be a darker color, I typically on that. I'll actually use the bride's dress or try to find something else within the room that complements the overall tone of the day. The reason I don't photograph on dark bridesmaids dresses is because, especially like on navy blue, when you're photographing details, the color tends to come up black and not navy, and lighter and brighter is my photography style. So I choose just to photograph on lighter fabrics. I've also brought fabrics with me too to photograph on. So if you know what the color scheme is going to be for the day, you can certainly do that. But most of the time, dresses are available. All you have to do is ask. I've never had anyone not willing to do it. So it's a really great way to have all of your details. Hi, Sue. How are you? It's a really great way to have all of your photographs match the color scheme for the day, and think about it from a perspective of putting the photos together for an album. You want everything to match from start to finish. So the bridesmaid's dress is the best way to go. One tip that I'm going to give you, though, when you're photographing details and you're using the bridesmaid's dress, and I've said this not only in my videos but in my blog posts too, you really have to be careful when you're photographing shoes on a bridesmaid's dress. A lot of times the plastic on the heels of the shoes have a tendency to pick fabric. You don't want to be doing that on a bridesmaid's dress. That would be horrible. So make sure that you're being really careful when you're placing the shoes on the dress, and turn the dress over and use the back, because if something unfortunately does happen, accidents happen from time to time, just with anything, you want to make sure that it's not on the front of the dress of a bridesmaid. So just be very, very cautious when you're doing that. Also, those foam boards come in really handy. Hey Alexis, how are you? They come in really handy reflectors. There are definitely times when I've gone into a room and I'm photographing and I've got great window light, but it's only on one side of the details that I'm photographing, and it seems like the other side of the details kind of go into a black hole and I just need more light. So rather than pulling out my flash and having to do off-camera flash, I can just use a reflector. That's great if you carry a reflector with you. I typically don't. So what I will use is either another foam board. Those are great to put on the opposite side of the window because they're white and they're fantastic reflectors. Or you can just use a pillowcase. Most of the time you'll be in a home or a hotel room and pillows will be available. But if you bring multiple foam boards with you, then you don't have to worry about it. But we've definitely been in situations where we've used pillowcases and they work great. So that's an awesome, awesome way to get some beautiful light on your details. Also, the last tip, which actually I hadn't gone over yet, is hanging the wedding dress. So this is actually one of the first things that I do when I come in after I have found a spot that I want to shoot and I've started to set things up. I do like to go ahead and photograph the bride's dress because sometimes it can be challenging finding a place to photograph the dress and it's that out of the way, kind of takes the pressure off. So I have a couple tips for this. I definitely have had weddings where I've brought command hooks with me, the kind that you just stick onto the wall because I couldn't find a place to hang the dress from, whether it be like a door or, you know, just somewhere within the house or the hotel. So those do work really great. However, I will tell you that they do not stick very well on like wallpaper, textured walls. And I know inevitably you're going to end up putting the command hook on the wall and you're going to put the dress on and the dress is going to fall and a bridesmaid is going to catch you. So I don't typically recommend doing the command hooks anymore unless you have the time to put it up on the wall and make sure that it's still before you start hanging a heavy dress. So one of the tips that I have found actually is using a small thumbtack. Now, before the internet world attacks me for putting holes in people's walls, I need to tell you this. I will only do it in certain circumstances. So a lot of times if I'm in like a bedroom, there are pictures that are already hanging on the wall and I can put the small thumbtack in the wall. I use the clear thumbtacks, but I also use these too. I got these at Walmart and these are awesome. They're actually really pretty thumbtacks that you can put in the wall. If you're hanging where there's a textured wallpaper, you can actually use this and you won't see any holes. So I'm not about destroying people's walls. I just like to use what's already there. And surprisingly enough, these are really hanging really heavy dresses. They will hold. They will absolutely hold when a command hook won't. So hopefully these tips are useful for you guys. Again, if you haven't had a chance to download the 5 tips for wedding day details, make sure you do that with the link that's below. I use these tips with every single wedding that I photograph. It really makes for gorgeous, gorgeous photos. And of course, if you have any questions at all, you can always reach out to me directly about anything related to photographing weddings, families, doesn't matter, photography in general, or just with running the business. I'm certainly here to help. And I hope you guys have a wonderful Friday and that you enjoyed these tips. I'll see you soon. Bye.